Hey guys, how's it going? Matt here. So, I obviously can't be with you guys this morning. I am at a wedding way up north where it's nice and snowy, and sadly, I just can't be with you guys. So, I've made this, what I think is pretty awesome video to share with you guys a story about people who rent vineyards. You might be saying, what's a vineyard? Well, you've come to the right spot. This is not a vineyard. This also is not a vineyard. And let me say to you guys, even though I'm not technically here with you guys, watching you and telling people to shh and be quiet, I still expect you guys all to listen. I don't want the teachers and helpers to let me know that you guys weren't listening well. So, randomly throughout this video, I might be showing you something like a package of Smarties or a strange doll. And at the very end of it, there will be a little quiz or a test where you will have to try and think at the things you see, the strange items, such as a plug cover, what they all have in common. And whoever gets it right, I will make sure that your teachers reward you. Oh, did you guys see that? So when I was a kid, I have a little secret to let some of you guys in on. When I was in grade 4, I got in a little bit of trouble. And this actually has to be a secret between you guys and me. So when I was in grade 4, I actually ended up getting 4 detentions in 1 year. And I can actually only remember, I think, 2 of them. One detention was for throwing snowballs on the schoolyard. I don't know if you guys are allowed to do that at your school or not, but I definitely was not. And the teachers told us not to, and I still did. And the second detention, a friend of mine, well, she's a classmate of mine, she went to Florida for March break, I believe it was, and she was showing a bunch of pictures, and I thought the pictures were so boring. And so I was just talking to my friend the whole time, and my teacher, she sent me down to the office, and I got a detention just for talking during pictures of Florida trip. So, yeah, I got in a little bit of trouble that year. I always thought I was a pretty good kid until I got that year of 4 detentions. I thought, am I a good kid or am I a bad kid? Because, you see, I was denying my teachers. Some people say deny, or in other words, like, I was very much disobeying my teachers. Have you ever had a detention? Are you a good kid? Or are you a bad kid? Hey Paul, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Were you a good kid or a bad kid when you were in grade 4? Or is that too far back to remember?
I was probably a bad kid, let's be honest.
So when we disobey our parents or our teachers, we actually end up denying them. Hey, these are fun. Hey guys, just came out here to the trusty old car. This week we're finishing off, though, like we said, our teaching on parables and the parables that Jesus taught. And we remember a parable is a story that he tells to like communicate or to get a certain point across. And this week's parable is a hard-hitting parable. It's one that everybody needs to know and hear, and it's directed at a group of people that really need to hear it. So without further ado, let's head to the grocery store. So Jesus tells a story. And don't worry, I'm still in the church parking lot while I'm driving and talking to you. He tells a story about a man who planted a vineyard. I don't think many of us here have ever planted a vineyard before, but we can think of it as a man who had a bit of money and some time. He planted some grapes, and his plan wasn't to farm them on his own, but his plan was to rent it out to somebody who he could then have take care of, or rent out the vineyard and make money off of them, except for he wasn't making money. He would come and collect every once in a while some grapes from them, and that would be the payment. Guys, honestly, this has got to be the first time that a Sunday school lesson has ever happened from Food Basics. Everybody here would say they know where grapes grow, right? They know what they grow on. Underground? On a tree? Let's see here. Bingo. Got him. So to answer where grapes are grown, our fun fact for the day: grapes grow on a vine. In a yard, which equals a vineyard. That's what a vineyard is. So as we said it, the man planted his vineyard. Then he went away to another country, and let the men who were renting it look after it. So the guy that owned the vineyard got word that harvest had happened. There had been some grapes that needed to go and be collected. So he sent a servant over with a basket ready to collect the grapes. Hello, I have come for my grapes. Grapes? You're not getting any grapes. And then the grape farmers beat up the servant very badly. And he left with 0 grapes. So the vineyard owner got word of this, and he decided, well, I'll send another servant to try and collect what they owe me. Hello, it's just me. I'm here for the grapes. This is the second guy. Grapes? You're not getting any grapes. Didn't you get the message from the first guy? And you guys guessed it. The second servant had the same fate as the first one. Got beat up pretty badly. Sent away with 0 grapes. The owner of the vineyard was saddened and shocked at what he had heard. He said, "What shall I do? I will send my son. Perhaps they will respect him." Now, if you guys are sitting in my shoes, you're thinking about this story that Jesus is telling. He's saying, like, why would a father who owned a vineyard, why would he send his son? The first 2 guys that he sent had been like brutally beaten up, maybe even killed. Why would you send your son if potentially the same thing is going to happen? Seems like a pretty dangerous decision to me. What do you guys think would have been a safer option to do? What should he have done? I'm going to give you guys 20 seconds to think about it. Whisper to your neighbor for the next 10 seconds what you would have done if you were in the vineyard owner's shoes. Who would you have sent? Probably someone who is like heavily armed, or someone maybe with like a gun. Maybe the vineyard owner himself should have went. There's all kinds of probably better ideas or options that they could have done. But we can't forget, guys, this is a parable that Jesus is telling that we can learn from, and that the people that were listening to his parable could learn from. It actually is pretty cool. It works for us today and for them back thousands of years ago. So the son went on his trip to the vineyard, maybe knowing what was going to happen or what not was going to happen. When 3 of the farmers saw the son, and they all whispered to each other and said, "There's the heir. There's the son of the landowner. If we beat him up, everything can be ours. And we won't have to pay anything. No tax, no anything." So you guys can quite guess what happened. So they threw him out of the vineyard and they killed him. And that's it. Jesus' parable is complete. So he opens it up to the crowd and he says, "What do you think the landowner should do? What do the wicked farmers deserve? How should the landowner get even? Kill them! Kill them all! Get rid of those bad farmers and find somebody else. Kill them! Find somebody else that can look after the land. Get rid of those evil farmers." You see, this story isn't actually about grapes or vineyards or farmers. He made up this story for a reason. He made it up because he knew and he understood what the religious teachers and the Pharisees and people back then, he knew that after they thought about it, they would realize, oh no, this story is about us. This story perfectly describes what we have been doing. They had been attacking people before Jesus. They had been mistreating people. And they would eventually end up brutally beating Jesus and killing him. So guys, what I've learned from this parable is that when Jesus has an issue, or when he sees something happening that isn't right, he isn't the quickest one to always point at people and tell them exactly their mistakes. The cool thing about parables is, like I said before, he fashions them and he makes a story up that the story really gets at a person and tells them, it teaches them something about themselves. And the religious authorities and the Pharisees, they had realized, oh no, he's talking about us. We need to change. So you see, guys, there's a lot that we can learn from this. That's what I love about Jesus' stories, about his parables, is that everybody's going to hear something and learn something a little bit different from each one. I actually, now that I think about it, I think there might actually be some similarities between the detentions that I got when I was in school and Jesus' parables. You see, during detention, you sit there and you think, what have I done? And the idea of sitting in detention is you think about it. It's not something immediate that happens. It's not just a 30-second timeout, but it's more of a long term, like 15, 20 minutes, an hour. Jesus' stories force us to think, is this a story or is there something to this for me personally? Boys and girls, as you remember, I talked about when I denied my teachers and when I denied my parents and the trouble that I got in. Here's the truth, something that I hope you guys know and you take very seriously. There are people that, like the Pharisees and the teachers of the law today, in Elmira and in Waterloo and in Kitchener and in the whole world, that deny Jesus. And Jesus gives us the right to do that. He doesn't ever force anybody. He doesn't ever point at them and say, believe in me. But he gives everybody the choice to choose him. And when there's a choice, that means we can also deny. Like I denied my parents and my teachers, I can also deny Jesus. I can say that he's not real or that he's fake. But there are consequences to that, and that is that we don't get to spend time in heaven with Jesus. We don't get to experience all of his goodness. And guys, it's something that that every one of you guys here today, I hope you guys get to experience one day. So, choose not to deny Jesus. Choose to believe in him. Choose to give him your life. And I don't think you'll ever regret it. So I encourage you guys this morning to choose Jesus. Don't deny Jesus. I hope you guys have a great morning together. Please listen very well for your teachers and for your helpers. I'm just going to ask, hopefully, one of the teachers or helpers to come up to the front now and pray for you guys and head off into your small groups after this. Have a good morning, guys. I'll see you soon.